First thing with our agentic approach was we had one customer who was really like going ham with our suggestions and was really one of the first ones to really try it. They're like a programming website like Coursera, but for like only for programming courses. And they really started applying our suggestions and like creating the content that SiteFire outputs, launching I think 1 blog post a day, and we increased their AI traffic by 170% in just 10 days. And we also like connected the network log so we could see every bot visit in Cloudflare. And this was the first time, and now it's sustaining. So it's really nice. I think then there was this aha moment of, holy, this actually works.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ignite podcast. Today we're thrilled to have Jochen Madler on the mic. He is the co-founder and CEO of SiteFire. It's a YC W26 company and a Team Ignite portfolio company building the marketing infrastructure for the agentic web, helping brands show up inside AI systems like ChatGPT. I think I've heard of those guys, the Gemini and Claude. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, I'd love to start with your background. What's your origin story?
So I grew up in Germany, Munich, Germany, and my background is really like technical, so statistics. I fiddled around a little in energy markets and like statistics for energy market simulation, did reinforcement learning optimization for energy grids. But then, did a PhD in the same thing and then dropped the PhD to found SiteFire. So me and my co-founder, we met like 7 years ago. We know each other since a long time, had of like hackathons, competitions together. And then one day he came around and made me reconsider.
That's amazing. So he kind of pulled you out and said, hey, let's do a startup.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's great. It's always good to have those kind of friends that pull you out of your comfort zone. And then how did the app applying to YC come about?
Mm-hmm. So we started building SiteFire end of 2025. And back then in Germany, it was really about this AI monitoring space, really fiddled around with like GPT-5 came out. Everyone was thought of like, this is now the end of like anything or everything, like software engineering, all of it didn't happen. But then we like really got into this AI search, Google AI model launched, Google AI overviews launched. And so we really started building this monitoring infrastructure and quickly sold it to like pretty large companies in Germany, like BMW, Deutsche Bank, and Allianz. And then we got into YC. So everything actually happened pretty quickly. We started end of 25 in like November building. And in December, January, we were already in San Francisco.
What was it like to come live in the US, live in San Francisco? You know, you're there for 3 or 4 months during the entire batch?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, San Francisco, actually Dogpatch, pretty close by. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I've been there before in my time at Stanford, so I know the area. And of course, it's like, yeah, if you're building something like this, you at least want to have the ecosystem and like have, YC is, in my opinion, the perfect thing because, of course, the agentic web and everything like these systems are being built there. And so, yeah, we now have actually like are in good contact with all of the big firms and yeah, also the ecosystem is just like really amazing.
What was that whole experience like for you?
So I think we've been here to an accelerator for a previous startup in Munich. And I've always been, and also my co-founder, like in various entrepreneurial programs. So I know a little about the scene, but I think YC has always been this North Star, right? Like where it's like so much better. And the interesting thing is the program is actually like less program than for most other programs. So it's like less events and stuff like this. But the ones you do get and also the office hours you get, it's less, but it's more high quality. And so it really like lets you work a lot and focus on your things and make meaningful progress and then steer you in the right level of the right basically level of granularity, steer in the right direction.
Do you recall any key aha moments or takeaways during your time in the program that you'd love to share with founders who might be listening and considering applying to YC? Things that, you know, there's a lot of people that don't get into YC, right? They only take 1 or 2%. Is there any kind of takeaways and things you'd like to instill to the founders out there listening that might be, you know, going 0 to 1 like you just did?
Yeah, I think like the interesting thing is there's really no magic in the sense like there isn't the magic pill they just hand you on day 1, right? But it's really like this ecosystem and like I think having the right mindset, but also having the right ecosystem and like surroundings. So surrounding yourself with like good people. YC famously said like ditch many events. Like there's so many tech events in SF, just don't go. It won't help you. Don't hang out where like the scenesters are. Hang out where your customers are. Yeah, so really stuff like this. Don't go to like office spaces, it'll just slow you down. Move into one apartment, like be scrappy, stuff like this, and then really hold yourself accountable. So like set ambitious goals, and then always like meet them. And if you don't meet them, it's okay, but you like break it down and know like why it didn't work, and then try again.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think if you have money in the bank, I love that advice. Just don't hang out with the scenesters. Don't hang out with the people out there, happy hours and events. And there's, dozens every single day you could go to, right? Just focus on your customers, build stuff they want, and ignore all the noise, right? And set ambitious goals. I love that, those lessons. So, I mean, you've had a really interesting background. I mean, deep reinforcement learning, energy systems, now marketing. What are you seeing out there that others may have missed?
Yeah, I feel like there's no really romantic thing like that went from like energy and then now it's AI on marketing. But I think the connecting dot is of course LLMs and statistics. And I think I've always been like interested in just playing around with these systems. And now I've always been a user, like one of the first users when Perplexity came out. Always found it amazing that it's like better than ChatGPT because it's not hallucinating, it's doing web search, it's grounding. So always been on the user side. And then using these systems more and more, we found out that, hey, of course, there's also something happening with the ecosystem, right? Like with the web pages. And I think this insight was something that really struck me and us as a team, because I think like right now with these systems, we are seeing the biggest shift in search since Google came around, essentially. And the way people search online, or actually the way people interact with brands, is fundamentally changing. And this is why it's so exciting.
Yeah. What was that inevitable moment? Do you recall where you're like, okay, this needs to exist?
Yeah, so there was this Monday.com earnings call, and like I think it was Q2 2025, and then there was like some LinkedIn post about it. Actually, we had an intern at the time who discovered this. Kudos. And then we of course like dug in, but the CEO, or so Google AI Mode came out, and Monday.com gets a lot of traffic from Google organic search, and so it's the biggest growth driver. And then Google AI Mode came around, and so all of a sudden they had these AI overview boxes, and they weren't like they had impressions, but they had no clicks anymore because people wouldn't click through to their site, and their sales tanked. And then the CEO was asked on the earnings call, hey, like you have this Google AI overviews now. What are you going to do about it? And he had no clue. It was new, right? Like he has no clue how to solve it. And I think then, like because of his answer, the stock tanked by I think like 30% or something in one day. And we said like, hey, this is like obviously there's a lot of like traffic and organic traffic, which is not just clicks, right? Like it's users willing to pay. And if this is breaking down, then there is a big opportunity here. So something needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are sort of waiting for that shoe to drop on, hey, I'm searching for, I don't know, whatever I'm searching for. It could be a supplement or something. And yeah, tell me if I should buy the supplement for my health or whatever. And give me the 10 blue links, go ahead and just, or recommend a product and give me the different prices and the shopping experience. And yeah, they haven't really figured that out yet. Yeah. And so people, me especially, I'm LLM first, right? That's my home. When I open up a new tab, it's ChatGPT, right? And then I use Claude for a lot of stuff too. And I think that's becoming the new interface of the internet, right? Is agents and AI. And so a lot of smart people saw this, including this analyst who stumped the Google execs on the earnings call. Why didn't they just build this themselves?
So I think there is a lot of companies now in the space, of course, and like it's a now growing space, especially the monitoring piece. But I always felt like, and it's true, like this is the first step. So letting people basically peek into the box, right? Like, and opening this up, having a lot of synthetic searches going on to tell people, hey, what are LLMs now seeing? Do they see your brand or don't they see your brand? And I think this part is one thing, but this is really close to SEO. And so I think the most obvious thing, which we still hear today, is like, hey, yeah, but this is the new thing, but it's actually just SEO 2.0. And so I think this is something we don't believe in. I think it's way bigger. Yeah. And so this is why I think many missed this or just dismissed this.
Yeah. So you're a special kind of founder who started in academia and switched to startups. That's a very unique path. Others have done it, but like, what did you believe about markets and maybe startups back when you were in academia that you now think is completely wrong?
So I think like I was actually in energy markets. We did an energy study for the German government, simulating these kind of things. And I think like market theory and like search is a zero-sum game, right? It's attention. And so you have these 10 blue links, at least in the old world in Google. And so whenever like it's you on there, it's not someone else on there. So it's really like this game of getting to the top. And in the zero-sum game, I think like the interesting piece about markets, in my opinion, is what kind of like assumptions do you take of people for like humans, essentially. We have this like homo economicus, where like people are rational and like take all of these choices. And I think the interesting thing which the whole SEO industry, in my opinion, is built around, is that people are actually humans, right? And they're not rational. They actually like go for these fancy CTA optimized titles. And so it's really not like, it's really not an efficient market, in my opinion. And with LLMs, the whole thing gets, in my opinion, more rational now. I'm happy to dive in how. But I think like the search space is essentially getting bigger than just template links. And also it's getting more rational because it's actually not humans now reading these pages, getting maybe like blown off by cool parallax animations or colors or like images. It's really now more about product like specs and information and data.
Right, yeah, because the AI, you got this 150, 160 postdoc PhD level assistant in almost every human domain that can digest books worth, whole textbooks, the whole academic literature on something. And then say, hey, I've crunched it, and I've looked at, I have this whole context window on you as a person because of all the data you've given me, and I've crunched this all into this nice little paragraph of stuff you need to know, right? And so it is creating this like hyper rationalization around information dissemination and discovery and search. That's a really fascinating take.
Yeah, and I think like so for example, if we like insurance is, in my opinion, a great example because usually like insurance is something like a semi-complex product where you usually have like some broker or something helping you out, and they would like know stuff. And now a lot of people are going to ChatGPT and are like starting this information journey pretty high up in the like not in a buy intent level, but more in like a learning experience. Like, hey, what is an insurance? What different insurances are there? And then for going from there, and I think now it's like the search in Google search, you could bet on these keywords and just focus on the very transactional ones where you actually already buy an insurance, but you lose so much context. And with the LLMs, you now have this whole like learning infrastructure, the whole chat window essentially, which carries so much more context and gives also actually brands a better way upstream to jump in there and provide also not only like a product, but also value in explanation.
Yeah. So you're essentially just applying this optimization to human attention. What part of marketing is actually just a math problem?
So I think, as I told you with the zero-sum game, I think it's really like marketing is essentially like trying to map what product, like what a brand is selling to people who want to buy it, right? And that's really the keyword idea of Google, which in my opinion is actually genius. We have people are looking for something and they encode this something in keywords they type into a search bar, and brands are selling something and they also encode it by essentially putting these keywords on their site. And so it's really nice, like that's working, and it's a huge it's this optimization problem of actually which keywords do I want to target, and then we have of course other competitors also targeting these keywords, and you get these bidding dynamics. And this SEO, and I think this is marketing in a nutshell. And the interesting thing now with AI search is with GEO, this space, this like encoding is way more like the information bandwidth is way higher now. I don't need to encode this. Previously, Google searches were pretty much like 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 keywords. That's it. And I need to encode all of my knowledge, all of my desires, all of my background into those 4 or 5 keywords. And now with LLMs, we have all of this context. We have way more longer prompts. And so we can basically match this way better. And that's really exciting.
Most people think that AI search is just like another channel, right? Just like Google search or social media. And I think you think different. How do you think about it?
So in my opinion, like websites, it's a controversial statement maybe, but I think websites are going away. So like over the short term or like maybe the midterm, there for sure will be websites for humans. But in my opinion, websites increasingly will be visited by agents. I mean, we see this with ChatGPT right now. You're entering like ChatGPT, right? You're looking at this and maybe you're clicking once or twice on these links that are being served as a back check. But I think this will become, as these systems get better over time, this will become less and less. Actually, the web that's being browsed will be browsed by agents and not humans. And therefore, the information and how it's presented will also change. It will change like for agents, essentially. And the most exciting part about this is that it's not only about like visiting a web page and structuring it with more text, but of course, we see this now with OpenClaw. These agents can now not only read stuff, but actually also do stuff on a web page. And once we enter this gets really exciting because then the whole online funnel with like marketing and checkouts and everything can be done by agents. Actually, it's already done by agents. And so this is really like this blows the whole thing open because now agents can actually not only do the research, but also the transaction.
Yeah, I can go talk to my agent like I would talk to my EA and say, hey, I need to, buy some basketball tickets tonight. And I want some good seats. I like to sit, kind of center court, find me the best price on SeatGeek or whatever. And I need 2 tickets. I know the game's at 7:00 tonight, and go. And that's it. And just goes and does it. And what's your budget? Oh, did you want to spend is it okay to spend 500 or whatever the number is? Yeah, that's fine. Cool. And it's just done. And you think about, how that used to work in, the standard web. You kind of have to download the app or go to the site, got to create an account, and then you got to like run the search, and then you got to like get your credit card info in there, and then and increasingly we're all going to have these super intelligent, super helpful agents, assistants that can execute tasks, do research, and buy stuff for us. Yeah, so it's a completely different thing. How do you think about and what are you seeing in the platform today between kind of human traffic versus agent traffic?
Like in the web per se, or for our customers, or
or just in the zeitgeist, your customers on the web. Yeah, I mean it's kind of early. We live in the future, right?
Yes.
You and I, like in San Francisco, in YC. It's definitely not like the future's here. It's just not equally distributed yet, is the phrase. And I'm curious what you're seeing in your platform of like how equally distributed is the future.
So yeah, that's a great take actually, and also it's in my opinion really like important to state. So you take like all the humans and you put them in this Bay Area. It's already like a set, but then all of this also in YC, and so it's really like everyone, for example, like in this ecosystem, everyone thinks everyone is using Claude Code, which is not the case, right? Like it's just sub 1%, and so yeah, it's always important to notice. Then when doing the reality check and talking to our customers, which are really like much go-to brands, they usually see AI traffic in like the single-digit percents of all their web traffic. So it's really like sub 10% for sure, and for most it's also sub 5%. So it's small, but it's not negligible anymore. And actually, and the whole point is it's really growing faster. And so that's the first derivative essentially of like how fast is it growing. That's what matters.
Yeah, and technology has this way of sticking around. We think of AOL as dead, but I think there's like still like tens of millions of people that log into AOL every day still. And I think the same can be said for like Yahoo. Like we think of like the Yahoo directory kind of web experience is dead, but people still log into Yahoo and kind of use the directory. And I still use Google for some stuff. Sometimes I just want a quick answer, or I need to actually find a resource online. So technology has this way of Kevin Kelly wrote this book. I'd love to, Kevin, if you're listening, I'd love to have you on the pod someday. But he wrote a book called What Technology Wants. And in there, he kind of goes through all the evolution of technologies, right? And how technology evolves and it proliferates. And there's definitely like kind of the crossing the chasm, early majority kind of framework. But he makes this point that the technology never really goes away. It just sort of maybe gets more pushed to the side. It's still kind of there, but it like a new technology comes and usurps the whole experience over time. And I definitely I feel like agents will do that. We're living in the future. We're seeing the what could happen, how the world could be. But I think the rest of the world's probably still 5 or 10 years away from really going, oh, this is just my default experience talking to my agent every day, and it just does stuff for me.
Yeah, I agree. Like especially the web, in my opinion, there will be like a super, or like for sure there will be both types of words for humans and for agents coexisting for a long time. Like for sure. But I also like this proliferation of technologies. It's getting faster every year, I feel. And with ChatGPT, for example, like sure, it started already now, I think 3 years ago, maybe even 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, November 2022, I think. Yeah.
Right.
A little over, 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, maybe, even like close to 4. But still, like now, like I think, is it 1 billion or 900 million users now? So it's almost like
almost 1 billion users. Yeah.
Yeah, an eighth of the human population, right? In like 4 years.
And agents will come right behind that, right? I think a lot of us have had that OpenClaw experience where it's like, oh yeah, it just like does stuff, or the Claude Coworker or the Claude Code or Codex, but I don't think a lot of people have had that ChatGPT moment yet with agents. I don't think OpenClaw's gonna be it, especially because OpenAI bought them. Maybe it'll just be ChatGPT one day. You'll just be talking to it, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you want me to like check out and buy that for you? And I can just go get that for you.
Actually, I think like ChatGPT acquired like the OpenClaw founder in a sense, or like he joined OpenAI. I think that's the right phrase.
To build the agents inside, yeah.
To put this inside, right? Like so, we can really expect these like systems, ChatGPT in particular, to have these kind of capabilities sooner rather than later. And I think they already have this distribution, right, of like 900 million users. And so like with a snip of a button, if they just roll out one more feature, all of a sudden this now is like agent ready and can do stuff on websites. So yeah, I think we're not too far away.
Yeah, a fascinating world. But what is in this area of, and what do you call in this category? Is it AEO? Is it like answer engine optimization? Like what do you call it?
So yeah, I think there's this big debate, right, between GEO, generative engine optimization, and then answer engine AEO, answer engine optimization. Yeah. In my opinion, like I don't care. We started with the GEO keyword, which we just use for now, but I really don't have strong opinions. And in my opinion, like this GEO, it really narrows people into this zero thinking, which for sure with this monitoring is a part, but it's not the main part in my opinion. It's the first one. But the more interesting thing is marketing to agents, so agent experience instead of customer experience. I think this will be the new thing, which really will accrue a lot of value and will get many people excited.
Yeah, love that. So what does winning in this AI answer space actually mean in practice?
So for brands, like why are brands working with SiteFire and us is because, of course, they want to be, first of all, present, like pretty much marketing 101, right? Like you want to be present in front of the user. So you want to be mentioned by these, first of all. So when they type in something about an insurance, the one insurance company wants there to like ChatGPT to mention them, like primarily in a positive light. And then the second thing is, so that's brand awareness and it's brand mentioned. And then the second thing is, of course, ChatGPT right now regarding the checkouts is using these links. So usually then people right now are clicking on these links and doing the checkout on their site. And so the second objective for these companies is not only getting brand mentioned, but also having their site, their link in there as a citation, such that people click on it and do a checkout. So it's really this two optimization, but it actually goes like it goes both ways. So when you do a search, there's these web searches in the background happening. They gather all these pages. The LLMs go through these pages, understand what's interesting enough to be cited, and these citations and these sources, they also inform which brands are being mentioned in the answer. They ground the whole thing. And so, yeah, it really goes hand in hand.
So imagine Google and OpenAI disappeared tomorrow. And let's take them one at a time. If Google disappeared tomorrow, what percentage of companies would lose their primary source of distribution?
Well, a lot. I think over 50%. So we see this now with companies. Yeah, Google is really everywhere. And I think like even with this AI, I mean, they're doing their best right with Gemini and so on, but Google is huge and Google search. So I think at least we did this like estimation napkin thing. So in my opinion, it's like 60-70% of companies are having their main distribution channel or as organic traffic, either paid or organic via Google, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But so take away anything, of course, which is really like outbound driven sales or like farming, mining, stuff like this, defense tech. But anything else, actually, anything consumer related is really, really this.
Yeah. And what about OpenAI?
I mean, OpenAI is really directly eating into the cake of Google. So it's really the same number, in my opinion. They just share this one thing because ChatGPT is really, it's using web search in the background. It's actually using Bing. And so it's the same kind of system.
Okay, interesting. So in your opinion, is GEO just SEO with a different label or is it different?
So I think of it as like GEO in the narrow sense is really like this SEO 2.0. So making sure that you have the right web pages such that people right now are being like, the brands are being mentioned in these answers and their links are being cited. So that's GEO. I think the broader term then, which is an exciting future, is this agent experience. Maybe then it will be subsumed by GEO. Maybe it'll be a different thing. I think we don't know yet.
Yeah. I've already learned to use Markdown files now more when I interact with Claude and OpenAI because it just reads it easier, right? Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, like you prefer a Markdown file here, I'll just start using those and they're kind of cleaner anyway.
It's interesting. There's this like, yeah, just the first version, in my opinion, of this parallel web we're seeing that like a lot of customers of ours now, actually Cloudflare launched this as well, just to serve a Markdown clone, a Markdown mirroring essentially of every web page for the agents. Yeah, strip it of any like pictures, anything, just raw information. But who would have thought like Markdown is such an old technology, and now we are back.
There it is. So your product doesn't just analyze; it executes. Maybe you could tell us what that means.
Yeah. So I think that's the interesting part, which we really like built out during YC now this year. This is so we started with this monitoring. So you have all of these synthetic prompts you run through, and you can tell people what web pages are being shown in the answers. And once you know this, you can then start like improving, right? And so improving means there's really two kind of broad categories you can improve as a brand, and it's always through the web. So you put out different content on the web about yourself, about others, and this influences then these background web searches of these models, because right now we don't have a scalable way of infiltrating the training data of ChatGPT 5 or something. This is over time, of course, with Common Crawl, but then it's still stuff you put on the web. So in my opinion, what we do is you have on-page and you have off-page. And for on-page as a brand, it's really your own website. You can either create new content, or you can improve your existing content to better tailor it to LLMs. And for off-page, that's also something with the whole trust issue, or like the trust thing. So you have these editorial coverage sites. So it could be PRs, outlets that write about you and mention you as a brand. And then UGC, user-generated content. This is really like YouTube, Reddit, Quora, all of this. And so as a brand, you have really these like the on-page stuff. It's really scalable. This is what we automate with SiteFire. We can create blog posts, and we use this information, essentially, what we see, and then reverse engineer what's working right now to tailor and to tell you what to do, and then actually do it for you. And so I think there's one big difference which we've seen with like many companies, and we also tried this in the beginning, is gathering a lot of information and then running like a lot of like tests to find out elements of websites that are working and then applying them as a general set. This, in my opinion, doesn't work because the world is too complex and LLMs are too statistic in their nature. And so what we found with like a lot of models and also other companies out there, they are running these like monitorings, and then they are trying to extract out like certain snippets. But in order to fit everyone, it becomes so generic as of, yeah, you should add FAQs to your site or something like this, right? Which is so generic, it doesn't help. And so what we do with our system, for each topic you want to appear in, we gather the top-cited pages so we can understand what is it. It could be anything. It could be Reddit, it could be your own page, it could be your competitor's blog post. And then depending on what works, we have agents that essentially do the whole SEO experts work for you in digging into those pages, understanding what's the reason they're being cited there, and then applying this to your own web page to tell you either, hey, you don't have something on this topic yet, you should write about it. Or, hey, it's actually these 3 Reddit threads that are really driving this answer, you should post something in there. Stuff like this.
Yeah, I wonder how they're doing that at the OpenAI, Claude, and Google and Grok for that matter. Are they using some version of PageRank to try to figure out what's authoritative? Because back when I was in demand gen marketing, it was all about like backlinks, and Google every month or 2 or 3 would publish a new version of their algorithm, and you had to like go back and like redo all your pages to try to rank higher for different keywords and stuff. Do you know how it's like kind of working under the hood there?
Yes. So I think the interesting thing here to understand is, so you have a prompt, you input it into ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT takes this one prompt of you and expands it into multiple search queries. And these usually are longer than what humans would type in. They are like look weirdly specific for human Google search queries, but they carry all of this like context you bring in. And so they run maybe like 3 to 5 to even 10 web searches at a time in parallel, gather all of these pages. And for each of these web queries, it's really Google's ranking at work, right? It's really still the same Google ranking, which has, as you said rightly, PageRank baked in. And so essentially you get the top 10 Google searches for each topic, which already includes this PageRank and authority and so on. And then they gather these pages, and then there's one, so it's proprietary, right? We don't know for sure, but there's something like a rank fusion algorithm going on, where you basically compare across these 10 web pages, was there any web page that appeared, for example, twice, and was it in one search it was number 1, in the other one it was like number 8, and then maybe we have some other ones, and so essentially like a weighting across these search queries to find out the most important pages. And then once you have them, they go into these pages and read them top to bottom with like these snippets, and that's where then the Markdown mirroring comes in. And so you can optimize your page on a technical level to, once it's crossed the border of it's being found in the background, it's also passed this rank fusion algorithm. Now it's being considered by the LLM, and then it reads through all of these snippets, and then you can have a structure and like content, for example, facts or like quotations, stuff like this, which then gets extracted.
What was the first version of the product that actually worked for you guys?
I think, yeah, so an official or like what sold and what was used was already like back in 2025 as a monitoring product. But we always felt like this didn't really work because it's really just an analytics solution. And so it was really until, in my opinion, beginning of March in YC, when we started with this actions, which, by the way, we also tried first, distilling a lot of features, didn't work really. But at the first thing, which our agentic approach, was in beginning of March when we had one customer who was really like going ham with our suggestions and was really one of the first ones to really try it. They're like a programming website like Coursera, but for like only for programming courses. And they really started applying our suggestions and like creating the content that SiteFire outputs, launching, I think, 1 blog post a day. And we increased their AI traffic by 170% in just 10 days. And we also like connected the network log so we could see every bot visit in Cloudflare. And this was the first time, and now it's sustaining. So it's really nice. I think then there was this aha moment of, holy, this actually works.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, if you have a blog and you're a brand, a startup brand, enterprise, whatever, should you have that blog? A lot of people put them on Substack these days, and maybe they put a subdomain right on their main website. Will the AI read it just as well if it's on Substack, or are you not getting that accrual of all that crawl?
It's better to have it on your own domain. It's better to not have it on a subdomain, but really like on your top domain. That's what we see works best. And then again, it really depends on the topic you're looking to appear in, especially in these programming courses we had for this one customer. Some of them were really driven by Reddit, especially in ChatGPT. So there's also a difference in the models. It's probably many people know that like ChatGPT really likes Reddit. But the thing is, like with our system, there isn't such a thing as like there's one size fits all and then you'll appear. It's really that for different topics, sometimes you need to be in Reddit, but sometimes you can have a blog post, and this works really well. And sometimes we actually see that Medium posts and Substacks are being like referred more. So it's also some sort of UGC content. Yeah, so it really depends.
That's interesting. Yeah, I just wonder, I have a blog for Team Ignite. Chose to put it on Substack. It was easy to do. And I could have put it on my website, I guess. I could have used WordPress or whatever. But I just kind of decided that Substack has better distribution. And
I also like Substack. I mean, it's, I think for humans and the app and the ecosystem, I think if you have a lot of like, I think then it's stronger, it's better. I think purely from an LLM perspective, and it's probably the website.
So how much of SiteFire today is product versus services?
I think like the actions that we have, it's really fully automated right now. It's an agentic pipeline that runs, but we are really like in for many customers, we have like 2 tiers: the ones who would want to do it self-serve, and then the ones who have like some sort of human in the loop. And of course, we want to see the systems, we want to like know all the edge cases, and so we are checking these outputs right and refining every day. And so I think there's the whole system is automated, but we are really on the sidelines and looking at these outputs, and then thinking about, is this really something only for this one customer, this one topic, or is this a general issue that we should improve our system? So that's what we do.
Nice. And then so far, what has been the hardest technical problem you guys have had to solve?
I think really just like the actions, it really took like quite some time to get something that actually works. And it's not too generic. So it's probably the same thing we experienced with Claude Code, which I think a week ago, the whole source code got leaked. And so there isn't really that much magic.
Didn't Anthropic come out and kind of say like, oh, it was an April Fool's joke. There was nothing actually leaked. Do you think they're just kind of trying to cover up?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But I mean, like we had this Boris, the Boris Journey, the creator of Claude Code, was at YC, gave a talk, and back then in the talk he already said like they don't do a big secret about Claude Code. They had like competitors customers, like enterprise customers, checking the source code like for any like things. They would happily give it out to them, because the thing is, it's not magic, but it's a lot of tiny pieces put on top. And I think we experience the same thing with our harnesses that we put our agents into. And there's not one single thing, but you need to get a lot of things right on top.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's amazing. And so for us, that meant having the right harness, the right system prompts, but then also giving these agents the right tools at the right time. So they have, for example, Firecrawl, they have certain APIs that they can use, which are used in the SEO world. And so they can really decide for certain things, which makes them so flexible to employ different tools. And this really is what took a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're the same. And we have a lot of little AI processes we run. You couldn't just easily replicate them because they've been iterated on dozens, if not hundreds of times, right? You have to kind of work with the AI over months and years to get it to do just the thing you want it to do. What's a widely held belief about AI in marketing that you think is completely wrong?
So, I think like the obvious thing is this SEO thing that people, just think you want to get on a web page, and then in my opinion, so we have a strong belief that like the whole point of marketing agencies is something that will probably be automated. Most of it, I think, not all of it. There's always room for like experts, but I think this is something that many people haven't really gotten their head around because it's just so ingrained. But I think, why is this the case? I think there's a deeper reason. With SEO, there was always like a new hack in town. Like every 6 months or something, there was a new SEO agency that could claim like, hey, now things changed, a new update. We figured it out. Let's do a project. And then they applied some system until it didn't work anymore. And you needed these people to constantly like be on the ball and like follow these updates. But now with AI and our systems, right, it's reactive anyways. Like we monitor each day. We see shifts in the content that's being cited. And now we don't have people anymore like needing to look at updates. We can have all of these updates in Markdown files and feed it to the agents. They know in 10 minutes, they know more about like how the algorithm changed than any human could. And so, the whole system and the whole machinery about SEO agencies, in my opinion, is something that's going to go away.
Do you think that content will get commoditized to zero as well?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing. I don't know for sure how it will happen, but for sure we see that a lot of people, I mean, with Claude Code, right? Like you can put out web pages left, right, and center, like as many as you want. And I think really the content creation is commoditized. It's going to zero. Everyone can create lots of content. The question now is creating the right content that works, and that's a big difference. So I think in my opinion, what will happen is that as this backlink thing and like this reputation will become more important again, and because the cost of creating new content is just so low and keeps decreasing.
Yeah. So what's to stop like SEMrush or HubSpot launching this tomorrow? Why wouldn't they win in this space?
I mean, they're trying, right? Like they rebranded, they're now launching their AI suite. I think, the interesting thing is they had this SEO thing going on for 20 years and they didn't launch any actions. I think they have a lot of people, but I think you could have said the same thing for like many companies. So far, I don't have any problems actually believing that.
It's the hardest thing about being an investor, by the way, is like when you look at a company and you're like, will this company get big before the incumbents decide to eat their lunch, right? And just build it themselves. And so I'm constantly like kind of watching the OpenAI, Google, Claude, Grok roadmap, what they're building to try to inform myself of like, okay, because if they move in and they build in your space, you're done, unless they choose to buy you, right? But if Microsoft just decides like, hey, agents are cool, like we're just going to build like this like super powerful agent that does everything. I'm sure, and they have the Copilot agents and stuff, and it's not very good. But like, how do you think about that? Like, if you were like put your VC hat on, and you're looking at a company.
There was like a brutal scene, in my opinion, actually with the Claude Code talk that was at YC. There was like 100 people of YC founders invited, and then one guy was building memory management for these coding agents, and he was pitching his thing like in the Q&A. Boris was in the end like, you know what, you should pivot because we're launching this like next week.
Pivot, yeah, that's a feature. I mean, that's exactly the thing I'm talking about. It's like, okay, cool feature, and they'll just put a few engineers on that and just bundle it right in. And you have to be really careful as an investor. That's why I do a lot of vertical or new category, like you guys. Like, hey, this is new. It's so new that it's going to take Google a long time to figure it out, and maybe they'll never figure it out, and maybe they're not really incentivized to help you figure it out either.
Yeah, that's actually a big thing,
right?
So in my opinion, like actually we are safe in a sense, at least from the foundation labs, because we are optimizing sort of against their system or against their objective function to serve users. And so Google cannot offer, I mean, it's the same with SEO services. They are doing their best to monetize with ads, right? Like, and they're
they'll give you the AdWords tool, they'll give you the keyword kind of tool and stuff, but they're not going to tell you exactly how to like game their system, right? Because their customer is the consumer, right? They want to make sure the consumer has a good experience, not the business has a good.
Exactly.
Like the business is like a means to an end of like paying for the consumer experience, but the consumer is the customer. Well, consumer is kind of the product too in this equation, but yeah.
I mean, they cannot, if you have a platform and you're selling ads anyways, you cannot have this organic algorithm and put one company above the other on your platform, right? Like that. So I think it's not happening. And so that's not a problem.
Well, let's talk about the future. Walk us through a world where AI agents fully replace search. What does that customer journey look like?
So Actually, we had this happening to one of our customers. It's another YC company 2 weeks ago. And so they are selling some sort of API software, like a wrapper for certain go-to-market APIs. And they told us they got their first user from OpenCloud without any human in the loop. And so what happened was that right now, OpenCloud, if you configure it correctly, it can do this already. And so they had an API. It found their service via web search. It found that it had docs, so it visited their docs page, and then there was like a free authentication on it you needed to install, and so it authenticated, it started using the API and draw the credits until it's empty, and so they got paid usage from like without any human in the loop. And I think this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then they came to SiteFire, of course, like, hey, we want to know more, and now like we're ramping this up.
Yeah, we got to figure this out. I'd love to get an LP to invest in our fund without talking to them. That would be amazing. Yeah. Not that I don't want to talk to LPs. If LPs are listening, I want to talk to you. But, that'd be great, right? Like, I just got like a $250K check into my fund and I didn't even talk to this LP. The agent just kind of did that.
Yeah. So, and from a perspective of the user, the end user who is like using this, you don't really care for many things. You don't really care what service exactly you're using, especially if it's APIs. You want to have it robust, you want to have it cheap, and that's it. And so really, like, you're already, especially the people who are using Claude Code and like these engineering tools, they are already making plans and letting these tools make plans to integrate certain things. And in my opinion, something that's really interesting, really cool will be, so I think for humans, we have this human shopping experience, like where we have these like review pages, like the checkout wasn't great or like the product wasn't great. Actually, it was cheap, but it didn't last long. And so the same thing, in my opinion, will be for agents, because you can have a great onboarding experience, but if it's like super cumbersome to have these tools and they are down every like third time you call them, actually you don't have a great agent experience. And so in my opinion, a really cool thing would be if there's like some sort of, this Claude hub, right, where OpenCloud people or like OpenCloud agents would talk to each other, where you have some sort of review forum for like APIs where agents basically report how their experience was using this API.
Yeah, kind of like a Molt book, yes. Yelp review G2 crowd for agents.
That would be amazing. Like, I tried 10 times, didn't work.
They got this massive Markdown file of all the products with all the SKUs and all the customer experiences. Like, and they're like, oh yeah, I searched the G2 crowd, like product hunt, whatever, review site for this product. And it turns out, yeah, it's like, it has good reviews on Amazon, but 6 months later, the thing falls apart. And we know that because all these agents were reporting that into the Molt book, like Markdown file. That's really interesting. Yeah. Where do you think value accrues in the world going forward? You got the model layer, you got the interface, a SaaS, you have infrastructure, then you have all the raw materials, you have the chips. So for sure, like the chips and like selling the shovels will for a long time be a thing. For sure. And I think like it's interesting for a lot of software companies to think about if their service, which is true, and we see this with many customers now, especially the ones and the more modern facing ones, are no longer inclined to log into a new dashboard. They rather would have an MCP or something and just use their super apps or Codex or Cloud Cowork or something to deal with software. The thing is, though, for the software providers, you really reduce your whole value proposition to an API that's being run or searched in the background. And so this is a problem, of course, API, like software as a service is being eaten by AI, and the service you provide will really become infra, essentially, because it's an API. And so, yeah, that's one thing that's going to be true. And then I think if you are then I think scaling, and if you're doing this marketing, right, like using SiteFire or some other tool to basically be the one the API found, this distribution is almost via API, it's almost instant. This is why also this marketing to agents is so important, because just connecting your API, if it's your API that's being found and that's being used, there's no incentive to switch. And so, yeah, really you're locked in and you have all of this memory which these agents create. So I think like the most interesting shift in value will be around SaaS. So, and these dashboards and these software solutions. Yeah. I think for traditional infra, they just stay infra. I think that's fine. There, I don't have any strong things or takes or something about this. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I think if you look at the history of technological revolutions, and as they kind of proliferate, they kind of whipsaw up the stack, I think. I don't think SaaS goes away necessarily. I think SaaS without AI goes away, right? Mm-hmm. I think some people are just going to want to log in, just like some people just want to use Google. I just want to get like a quick answer. I don't want to wait for ChatGPT to like search stuff and like, just like give me the answer really fast. So I still think there'll be room for SaaS. Yeah. I think it's going to be a rising tide across all layers of the stack, honestly. That's what I personally think. If you guys succeed massively looking out 5 or 10 years, like what do you actually own and what does that look like? What's your vision for the future?
So right now we are helping companies to be discovered by agents. So basically to show up in ChatGPT. The next step is, as we do it with this one company, that their API is being found and then integrated by OpenClaw or in the future some other agents. And so this is really just marketing to agents then, that their API is used more like cells essentially, and is being drawn from. And so the content that we put out in the web, now it's really blog posts. And so it's still in a human readable form. You could go in and like read these blog posts as well. They're not that pretty. They're optimized for agents, but still like you could. And in the future, these content and web pages we put out, it's the first thing that agents see when they interact with their brand. And so from there on, once these agents get more capable and can not only read content, but also do something with it, authenticate or something, we can also help brands to not only be the first back or like a front door to their site, but then we can also serve these tools on the website to develop this agent funnel. So we can have like certain tools on the website that get a quote for a service or authenticate or even do the checkout. And we can then also help these companies basically revert all their business logic, which was for humans, to business logic for agents, which is probably something around web MCP. And in my opinion, like the implementation isn't complex. It's just some code on the website. But the monitoring layer is interesting to see, because just embedding some tool on your website won't cut it. It's really like, this is marketing then now too, essentially. And so you need to understand where you need to embed it, what works, what doesn't, and A/B testing, all of this. And so mapping out the agent journey on a web page, that's something we can also help with. And I think this is really exciting.
Okay, so let's wrap up with a rapid fire. What did you believe about startups 2 years ago that you no longer believe?
That you need a lot of people and need to scale headcount. I think now it's not true. You just need a few people with great tools.
Yeah, so basically just kind of set up all the AI agentic workflows. Like, oh, we need to do this thing. We need a SDR to go qualify demos. Like, cool, agentic workflow. Yeah. We need another agent to like reach out to people, agentic workflow. We need somebody to follow up with people when they're not using the product anymore and check in on them, agentic workflow.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that basically it now?
Yeah. And I think, of course, like it's not dystopia that like no humans will be used anymore. But I think like the first inkling of if there's something to be done, it's now, can I do this with AI? And if not, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I've had this experience. I've set up a lot of AI here, and I was like a very early user of OpenClaw. So it was burning through, like I was burning like $100 of tokens a day. I was like, this is a lot. It's kind of a lot, you know? I find so far that if I have a contractor overseas that's pretty well educated and I give them a process with AI to follow, I get a lot better outcomes right now than just a pure AI driven out. I mean, that's not the case if you really, really tune the AI. If like you're really, really good at tuning the AI and you get a lot of time to like work with it and it's very domain specific, vertical specific, you can get it to do exactly what you want it to do. But yeah, I mean, I can see the promise of that. You know, what's a decision you made early at SiteFire that you would reverse today?
I think this first layer of like following what everyone was trying to do with his actions of like basically running a huge regression and like trying to distill some pieces that work everywhere, like a grand model of how a GEO works. I think this was doomed to fail, but yeah, we tried it anyways.
I don't understand the context. What is the direct actions?
And so like the idea is if you do a lot of monitoring and then you are basically trying to see why are these pages ranking, and you can basically do a lot of statistics right on this, like what are the features, and there's so many studies on this, what are the features that are being like used in these pages, and this has some value, but it's really like the world is more complex than that. And so basically going all in and trusting these agents, basically putting in little SEO researchers instead of applying some model, this really is something that I would do differently now.
What's the most dangerous assumption in your current strategy?
So I think we are banking on that AI will win, essentially, like that people will use ChatGPT, Cloud Cowork, and all of this as super apps. And so if this is not true, and actually that people are still using Google for a lot of things, or if they are using platforms such as, for example, Airbnb, it's quite interesting. I talked to the founder and he said, yeah, we're not doing this ChatGPT integration. We want our app, that people should be on our app, right? Not on ChatGPT. And so if there's enough platforms that can manage to have the power like this, I think within Airbnb, there is no optimization to be had, right? It's a platform game. And so I think, yeah, this is a risky assumption.
Yeah, I think you'll have both. I think you'll have like kind of the Google and Bing of AI, which is starting to coalesce. And then you'll have lots of local experiences, right?
Mhm.
That are kind of locked down, right? What's something your customers say they want, but you're just ignoring them? You just think it's like a bad idea.
So, I mean, there's like right now, since we are working with them on this new thing, but of course, like once they see there's some working and there's like tech developing, they also want to have it for SEO and like for the traditional web pages and like nice human interactive elements, stuff like this. And yeah, this is something we need to say no because we need to focus. But yeah, it's a short-term thing that would work right now, but I'm really sure it's not working anymore in the future.
What's a metric that you care about that most people wouldn't understand?
So I think like for me, this bot requests, so like connecting with the network logs of the customers and AI referrals from Google Analytics and looking at those metrics. What's the first of all, what's your traffic to the site from agents? This is really these background searches hitting your site. And then of course, what's the click-through? They are not directly the same thing, but of course, like you can see essentially which pages are working in AI and which ones are driving the traffic. And I think, yeah, this is something I care about because it's ultimately what spins up this whole agent funnel.
What's a recent opinion that you changed your mind on?
Yeah, this SEO agency thing. I think at the beginning we worked with them. I think, and of course we wanted to learn about the space. And I mean, there's a lot of knowledgeable people in there. And so we were really trying hard to sell our tool to them, as partners or something. And I think now, yeah, I don't believe like this is too strongly the case anymore. Yeah, because essentially they also had a hard time justifying the price because they obviously want to have their own like knowledge and power and work and consulting on top of it. And so I think this is really a channel which we stopped like doing.
If you had to bet against SiteFire, your own company, what would the argument be?
I mean, something that we get a lot of course, competition. You can always, that's something you can bet on. And I think the other bet you can do is that like there will be this. So I think a risk is, or like something that is maybe true is like that these foundation labs, they don't like their system to be gamed too much, right? And so if there's a company that's too successful and systematically outperforms too largely on their algorithm, they of course like they could do something about it. I think they have the technical capabilities. I think at that point, I think we are in a good spot in my opinion, if this is true. And also the main thing is of course, yes, making people discoverable, but also making this whole agent journey possible. So I think back then it's a thing, but I think this is something, if you have these companies against you, I think that's really a bad spot to be in. This is a risk that we run, but actually we now managed to get them on board on our company, some of them. So actually we're in a good spot.
Awesome. I really enjoyed the conversation. Where can folks find you online?
So we are, like our website is SiteFire.ai. Yeah, and I think anything from there, we have the same thing on X. But yeah, that's really it.
That's awesome. I'm surprised you were able to get SiteFire.ai. It feels like
Yeah,
something that would... You had to buy it from somebody or what?
No, actually not. We spent a lot of time like researching. We previously were called something else, which was, we really liked the name, but we needed to switch it during YC before we all launch. And we had 2 intense days of searching domains. And then we finally found this.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was so lucky when Team Ignite did not really exist. I was like, cool, because that's what I wanted. I didn't have to actually do the 2 days of intense searching, but
nice.
That's always like a thing where you got the perfect name. You're like, oh man, somebody owns it. They want 50 for it, you know?
And also there's like this immediate thing of like, you think of this great name and then you're disappointed because someone else thought of the same name, right?
Yeah. But I think you guys got a good name. So yeah, thanks for coming on. Really enjoyed it.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much.